Gentlemen, I'm going to start the learning sponsors. Okay, Year of Learning, Friends of Herb Jeremiah, Svi Ben Zev, Friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov, Friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir, Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben Yosef Kohen. Those who were inspired by our Rebbetzin Emeritus, Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Esther Malka Bat Meshulam Yisachar, Gail and Leslie Kaplan in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinza Bat Yosef Chaim V'Chava, Chanan Ben Moshe Eliezer V'Chana, Peshvat Moshe Levi V'Tzipor, Peter Ben Yom Moshe Cohen V'Chana, Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gutta Bat Meir, Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim, Marsha Brana in memory of her husband, Harav Yerachmiel Ben Shmuel, friends and family of Arthur Ritholtz, Mordechai Yudel Ben Baruch Leib HaKohen, friends and family of Sigi Bessler, Shalom Shraga Ben Dov, friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai Ozer Ben Yisrael Aharon, Sarah Alpert in memory of her husband, Harav Tzvi Lipa Ben Hillel, a month of learning by Rabbi Dr. Yankee and Malki Honig, in memory of his mother, Rabbi Hensha Bat Chaim Yehuda. Anna and David Grunblatt, in memory of her mother, Roisa Bat Chaim. Jill and Perry Meltzer, in memory of her father, Yaakov Ben Yosef. B. Pizer, in memory of her stepfather, Avram Michal Ben Shmuel Halevi. B. Pizer, in memory of her mother, Razel Bat Shammai. Jerry and Sharon Glassman, in memory of his mother, Malka Yehudis Bat Eliyahu. Henry Katz and children in memory of his wife, Leila Leah Minsha Bat Yehuda. Mel and Haran Haller, in memory of his mother, Fega Bat Yaakov. Andrea and David Dolmy, in memory of her mother on the 20th Yortzeit, Edel Tzina Bat Shimshon. Josh and Carol Sanborn, in memory of his father, Shmuel Aryeh Ben Baruch, and his mother, Chiena Bas Aryeh Leib. A week of learning by Evelyn and Isaac Blachor, in memory of her mother, Pero Rivka Bat Rav Menachem Mendel Eliezer. Dita Luxemburg, in memory of her mother, Martha Gitler Chana Bat Yeshaya. Baruch and Dina Rabinowitz, in memory of his father, Zeb Ben Chaim. Rena and Alan Mosak, in memory of her father, Meir Ben Yosef. Harriet Brick and Rabbi Moshe Kranzler, in memory of David Dolmy's sister, Deborah Dolmy. A Day of Learning Today by Sandy and Sid Goldschmidt, in memory of her father, Moshe Ben Simcha, as well as by Karen and Larry Weiss, in memory of her father, Shmuel Ben Shimon, and Elaine and Harold Rinn, in memory of her grandmother, Razel Bat Tzvi. And Hashem is heaven aliyah, Krank Rafia, Velti Yashir, Hashem Atleel, Choban Israel, Good Ben Shia. One other important, we are going to have to vacate this room a certain amount of time this week, and I'm going to clarify whether it's for 3 days or for 2 days, okay, because of the Sisterhood fashion show and the fact that it was indicated that somebody felt it important that all the bookshelves be covered for that purpose. Right. So all I'm simply saying is that I don't know whether Hughes spoke to me this morning. He wasn't sure whether it was going to take him 2 days or 1 day to do that, to put all the plastic up. Okay? I know certainly it would be Tuesday and Wednesday.
Before we know our building is in, hopefully you have a class.
There is a place to have a class. Unfortunately, it's being
Naked
used.
ladies are obviously more important.
Well, apparently it's being used for origin.
Rabosai,
Kenny, let's just stay in this room.
Rabosai, yesterday, after the Gemara isolated the reasoning of our Mishnah, making the two guys with the talis swear and split it by comparing and contrasting to other cases of money whose ownership is doubtful without any proof. After it finished, the Gemara brought what really is kind of tangential to our Mishnah, and that was what? A famous learning of Rebbe Chia that just like we know we have a rule that a modem mitzvah sataina chayiv lishava. The Torah taught us, we learned from the psukim that if a person rather than deny, if a person claims from somebody $100, says, listen, I don't owe you $100, and they have no proof, it's over. He doesn't pay anything. The money stays where it is. But if a person says you owe me $100 and he says I owe you 50, not 100, so then we learn from psukim that he has to swear he pays the 50 that he admitted to, and he has to swear that he doesn't owe the other ones. Yeah. So he has a chiddush, and he said that what? He said that that's not only true by the admission of the defendant, but even if two witnesses said I owe you nothing, two witnesses no, you owe him 50. Even there, he has to pay the 50 because he can't contradict the witnesses, and he still has to swear that he doesn't owe the other part. And he learns it by a kal v'chomer. Now, we yesterday tried to figure out what that kal v'chomer was that made it happen, and we failed. So the Gemara continues, says, listen, I'll tell you what kal v'chomer will prove that not only in the case, and the problem is because you see, when a person admits it, there's a psychology that we explained yesterday of why he should swear. But obviously, when it's different when they're witnesses, the whole psychology is out the window. Nevertheless, we have principles of derivation, more than one list actually, but which allow us to derive law. So by kal v'chomer we can derive a law. But we're looking, we can't find it yet. We know that he said it was from a kal v'chomer, but he didn't tell us what the kal v'chomer was. Okay, Elos says the Gemara, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lines from the bottom on Gimel Amud Beis Ella. Yeah. 3 words to the end of the Ella mal. Pardon me. No. Ella Akya. Pardon me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. The second word from the end of the Ella Akya. Okay. So Ella, I'll show you how I can prove this point, that not only by his own admission, but also by witnesses that force him into a partial payment, he has to swear that he doesn't owe the other part. You can learn it from the rule of one witness. We learn from the rules of one witness. Okay, we have a rule that a single witness obviously cannot make a person pay money, the Torah tells us, but a single witness can make a person swear. If a single witness says you owe this guy $50, he can't make him pay it, but he can make the guy swear that he doesn't owe it. So if a single witness can make a guy swear that he doesn't owe, and even though a single witness can't make a guy pay money, if witnesses who can make him pay money, certainly they should be able to make him take a vow. Now the Gemara says, get out of here. He says, why? He says, you can't do it because you're going to show me if in an easy case there's a stringent law. Certainly in a stringent case there's a stringent law. But if I show you that the easy case is not an easy case, but it's a stringent case, then it has its own peculiar reason and it doesn't apply in the derivative. Okay. Now, pardon me, I said wrong. I actually said wrong. Today it's unique. Today I said wrong. Today it's unique. This is different. This is a thing called dio. There's 2 ways to knock out a kal v'chomer. One way is to show you that the weak case is not weak, but strong, or the reverse. The second way is to show you that you're learning too much. Remember, I told you we learned before. The rabbis told dio, you can't learn more in the derived case than you got from the original case, even though it's reasonable. If I say that, let's say a guy who's very weak can lift 5 pounds. I could say a guy who's very strong can certainly lift 5 pounds. A guy who's very strong can probably lift 10.
But you can't go to 10.
What do you mean?
Swear 1, 2 definitely should swear because 2 is a very strong.
No, but remember, the the claim is 100. The two only said
partial.
The 2 only said that he owes 50, and so now he has to. So we don't say just like, but the 50 is left without a proof. So he has to swear that he doesn't owe the 50, even by 2. That's the chiddush. That's the chiddush of Rabbi Chia. That's the chiddush. So now we said like this. We said that's a decent kal v'chomer, but you got a problem. Why is that? Because you're learning too much. In the source case, he says what? In the case of one witness, the one witness says you owe 50. You have to swear you don't owe the 50 that the witness said you owed. Over here, what you're trying to do something more than the source case. By the case of witnesses, what are you trying to do? You're trying to say that they said he owes 50. And he has to swear that he doesn't owe the second 50. That's different. You're learning more into the derived case than you had in the source case. You can't do it. That's different. It's different than most. We do knock out kal v'chomers this way a lot of time, but I misled you and said the other way. Okay, now, Amar Papa. Okay, so don't worry. we can still do it. I can still show you a Kal V'chomer that just like when he admits he has to swear on the part that he didn't admit to, so to a witness is forced into a partial obligation, he has to swear on the part that they didn't force him to. Okay, Amar Papa, we learn Gilgul Shua of one witness. We know the principle of Gilgul Shua is learned from Sota. You see that the Sota says Amen, Amen. She swears twice. Why the coin only made her swear that she didn't betray her husband with this guy. How about with other guys? So what do you mean? So the claim was only this guy. Why is she swearing on the other guy? So the answer is we learn Amen, Amen, Gilgul Shua, that once a plaintiff has a right to demand from the defendant one vow in the case. Once that's true, once that's the case, even if the plaintiff doesn't have a right to force a vow independently on another case, but once he's got the guy swearing on this one, he's allowed to make him swear on the second one. So the same thing over here. Here, he said, we'll learn from Gilgul Shua de Echad. Here, let's say you have one witness, and interesting in our case. Here, let's say for example, one witness said, you owe the guy says you owe me 100. A witness says you owe him 50. He has to swear that he doesn't owe the 50 because the one witness can make him. Once he's getting him to swear on the 50, make him swear that he doesn't owe the other 50 that the plaintiff asked for. So you can see so if I one witness, I can certainly get a Gilgul Shua.
Instead he says, instead of saying that, he says, what you gave me isn't worth it.
That's a new case, but it depends. It'll depend on at this moment. It'll depend on the bottom line. Did he admit to a certain amount of obligation or not? For the moment, that's what we'll say.
That would be the
Okay, but that's what I just said. That's what I just said. Okay, now I don't want to lose the train of thought. Here's the problem. You tried to show me from the fact that if one witness can make him do one vow, he can make him do a second vow. You want to do the same thing over here? So he says. So therefore, what? So therefore, if one witness, and remember, and two witnesses are stronger than one witness, so two witnesses can also make him swear. Okay, so let's just get out of here. Two witnesses can make him swear on the part that they didn't testify about. They only testified on the 50. We're going to make them swear on the other 50. Says Malagogol Shua says, get out of here. Malagogol Shua the Eid Echad. How can you compare? By Gilgul Shua Eid Echad, Shekain Shua Gerer Shua. Over there, it's a stronger case. Why? Because you have a vow. You have an oath itself. There's already an oath in place. The one oath brings the other oath there. That is something there. Tolma be'edim the mama. Okay. But by two witnesses, where they only said what you owe 50. There's no vow on that 50. Only there's no oath on the 50. They said you owe 50. You want to say that he has to swear on the other 50? It's not comparable. They're weaker. So now the Gemara wants to learn from two. We did this a few times in the past, and now we instead of learning from one, we're going to use two. What are we going to do? We're going to use another source in the Torah to prove that the stringency that you found in the weak case is not important. It's not a factor. It's I proved it doesn't make a difference. You said to me, oh, you know what really made Gilgul Shua work? One vow made the other best. Get out of here. You see, when the guy himself admits the part, he has to swear on the other part. And there was no shavua there on the part that he admitted to. So you see what you did, even when you didn't have a vow to bring another vow, you stub another vow. So you see that the shavua is not the factor that makes the second vow come in. Where says, get out of here. But so what? Malapiv shekain out of so what? But piv has its own, the mouth, and when he admits himself, has its own stringency. It's not despite the fact that it lacks a vow, is because it has its own stringency, which is what? What? Because you can't. He cannot be contradicted. If I say I owe somebody $100, all the witnesses in the world can't make me unowe it to him. I got to pay him. You understand why? Because I'm the strongest witness. I said I owe it. Okay, so therefore, of course, mouth is strong. But how can of course mouth is strong because that's its own stringency. Which two edim don't have, because two edim can be contradicted by what? By two other edim. I can't. My own admission can't be contradicted by two witnesses, and two witnesses can be contradicted by witnesses. The way says, well, I'll prove the other side. One witness will prove it. One witness can be contradicted, and he still makes him obligated. So now what? Look what we did. We just proved that each of the respective stringencies of one witness of one witness, or the stringency of what, or the of admission, are not salient to the production of the law. Okay, who nishba? We said, look, whatever. I'm sorry, I didn't finish. What about what Eid Echad? That what? By Eid Echad, he swears on what he testified to. Okay, Tomer Beidim Mamasha Kafrahu Nishba. How can you tell me that what? But over there, you're trying to get the guy to swear on what he didn't do. Okay, that's not the same. Don't worry, the mouth proves the point. Okay, that one that he has to pay what he admitted to, and it's to swear on what he didn't admit to. So now what? We really, between the two, I proved that the two stringencies don't make a difference. The reason that his mouth makes him do the shvuah, okay, because what you wanted to say, because he can't be contradicted, okay, we see that doesn't matter, because when it comes to one witness, it can be contradicted, and yet he makes him swear. And the reason that you would think that one witness makes him swear, because he swears on what he was testified against, okay, that's shown to be not salient. Why? Because when it comes to his own admission, he swears on what he didn't admit to, what there was no testimony against him. You rather have to say between his mouth, his admission, and one witness, it's the common factor that produces the law, which is what? Shal Yedei Taina Ukfira, okay, Einboim. It really comes about because of a claim of the plaintiff and a denial of the defendant. Einboim, Vinishman, he swears, that's good enough. Afani Avi Eidim. So it's anything, I'll prove two witnesses between the two. I can prove the two witnesses. Shal Yedei Taina Ukfira Einboim. So as long as there was a claim of the plaintiff and a denial of the defendant, Vinishman, he swears on whatever part wasn't that he wasn't testified against. When it says get out of here, even so, even between the two, I can show you that they have a common stringency that two witnesses don't have. Look, both his own confession and one witness. In both of those cases, okay, the defendant wasn't shown to be a liar when he confesses. Obviously, he wasn't shown to be a liar, and when there was one witness against him, okay, he doesn't show him to be a liar, okay, and that's why you're allowed to let him swear. Remember, we've been learning all this time the way of Rashi. Rashi holds that as long as if a guy's suspected of being a thief, a liar, we don't let him swear. So therefore, what? But over there, he was never shown to be a liar, whether he confessed or the one witness went at the end. Tomar Beidim, what are you going to do with two? Once two witnesses say he owes what he said, now they showed he's a liar. Yeah. They're coming up. We've had it. They're out. Which extra?
The 50 they're making.
Whatever the bottom, whatever they're going to make.
He's asking a different question. He swears.
Whatever they could make him pay. Whatever they can make him pay.
But if the plaintiff says it's
what happens to the shvuah part? What happens to the vow part? I don't know.
He wants to know.
Yeah, I don't know. What happens to the vow part? I don't know. Okay, now. Okay, now he says when it comes to witnesses, okay, he says he wasn't. In all the other cases, what? Okay, he by Adam he's made a liar. You're wrong. It's not true. It's not true that by two witnesses he's shown to be a liar. Why? He says why? Because he owes, not like we said. He says even when two witnesses said that he owed when he said he didn't owe. Why? I can always say, because I can say, listen, his denial wasn't because he wanted to steal, but really what? He was only buying time to be able to pay back later. The answer is what? Okay.
The witnesses say witnesses come and say, I owe $100.
Yeah.
And I say, sure, you witnessed me borrowing the $100, but you were out of town when I paid it back. I don't know anything.
Right. It's going to come up a lot. It's going to come up. It's going to come up a lot. It's going to come up a lot.
In other words,
yeah.
If the Adam can force a shvuah and make him pay, if he says he already paid,
that's part of it. It could be. It could be said that he paid. It could be said that he paid. It could be said that he paid. And it could be said that he paid.
But then he has to take shvuah.
That's what the shvuah.
Okay. So now,
he's a liar,
or he pays nothing, or he pays half. He pays for.
If he says he paid his bag, I paid him everything I owe him.
Right.
Then he does. That's the end of it.
That's the end of it.
So, how could you tell me what? You want to tell me what we said? It's not really true that witnesses make him a liar, because he learned. He says that he's kosher aidis. So the Gemara said, but because that if a guy denies a deposit, that he's not buying time. Why? Because the deposit he actually has it. So postulated, then he's out. Okay, so I could say to you that he holds really that even two witnesses don't make him a liar. So therefore, two witnesses is not going to is going to get the same law. But still, I can still ask a kasha, even though you're going to learn from these two things. I can show you that the two things are more stringent than two witnesses that you want to learn to. What about the common factor between the two of them? That neither of those cases have the rules of being found to be conspiring witnesses, not my confession, and not one witness doesn't have the rule of a conspiring witness. It doesn't apply. But witnesses are weak in the sense that they can be found to be conspiring witnesses. When I says, "Oh, kasha, don't worry, that's not a kasha." Rechia holds that this idea of whether they can be found to be conspiring witnesses or not, it's not really a question. Okay, why is that? Because he is, in the sense that he's contradicted, two witnesses can contradict him. In other words, even though he doesn't have all the rules of a conspiring witness, but he's still knocked out by two witnesses. So he's not really so much different. You know, saying he's still in the end he can be knocked out. So he holds that that's not enough of a pirchov. Ella, okay, so the Gemara says like this, but let me push off again. So now we really up till now we really accepted the limud. Okay, but now we had a second part. If you remember, Rabbi Chia did two things. Rabbi Chia secondly he said that we had a kal v'chomer, so we did. But he said something else. He said that our Mishnah proves his point. Because he said our Mishnah, remember he said yesterday, was tantamount to two witnesses saying he owes half and swearing on the other half. That's our Mishnah. Why? Everybody's holding the whole talis.
So
and the witnesses are saying that this you get half, the half belongs to his neighbor, and he has to swear on the other on half, and he has to swear on the other, he has to swear his neighbor gets half, and he swears on the other half that he's not gonna pay. So you see what that where there's, so to speak, it's tantamount to two witnesses, and he's still swearing on the other part. So that was his proof from our Mishnah. That's how we got into the subject. This had nothing to do with our Gemara. What do we get? Because we brought a proof from our Mishnah. The Gemara says, Eli says, you know what? Let me show you. Maybe when he brought the proof from his Mishnah, maybe it's not a proof. The Kamar Batanatuna, when he said that our Mishnah proves his point, the two witnesses that partially obligate him to the claim, make him swear on the other part of the claim. Me dummy. What's the comparison? How can you compare two witnesses who said he owed 50 when the claim was 100 to the case of our Mishnah? Awesome. In the case, Rabbi? Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Awesome. Okay, all right. Awesome. The Melba Islay Sadi over there. Okay, by the case of two witnesses, the plaintiff has witnesses that he owes him 50. The Loba Leslie Sadi. Okay, and this is questionable. This should be these words should be or not. We'll read them in, but it's questionable they should be here. And the the defendant. Leslie Sadi de Lamasi Gulomidi. He doesn't have witnesses that he doesn't owe anything. Okay, the part that he's denying. Okay, the Habile Sadi Lelova Lamasi. If he had witnesses, he doesn't know that part. Lo boy Rabbi Chia Lishtabuy. Rabbi Chia wouldn't make him swear. So over there it's special. Over there in that case, what the plaintiff has witnesses and the defendant doesn't. Also, but here you make a mistake. Our mission it's not true. He's much stronger. Why is that? Just like what? Just like we testify about the other guy that he has half. We're testifying with this guy. This guy's in a much different position. The fact that he swears here makes no sense. Over there, he had no witnesses. Of course, he has to swear. Here, just like the other guy's witness, he has witnesses. We said they're implicit witnesses. We, the court, act as witnesses. We're saying that each guy has half. So therefore, and even so, he swears. So you see what? So the case of the swearing our mission is clearly rabbinic. Like we learned before, it's a rabbinic enactment to stop people from grabbing each other's towels, to stop people from rationalizing. There's no comparison. So you can't learn a Torah Shavua from here. This is not a Torah vow, a Torah oath. This is a rabbinic injunction. What are you doing? Alakiyat Marbatana Tuna. So Gemara says, you're right. He says that whole story was different. And we have this a lot of times in the Gemara. What happens is, and he explains something that's important, you'll see. Eventually, in order to learn successfully, a person has to learn in a modular fashion. What does that mean? The average mind, most people can't think of anything for too long. Most people, can't think of anything even for a minute. If you know a person that can think of something for a minute, he's a very, very, very outstanding person. Most people can't even think of a thing for a minute. They can't stay on one thought, even for 60 seconds. The average person. People who are trained, can think of something for 60 seconds. Some people for 2 minutes, some people for 5. Even brilliant people can focus very, very long. And the second point is that the more components in a thought, the harder it is to hold on to. we're going to come up here and there soon. We're going to come to a famous page. It's a Totos is the whole page. So I used to write for one of Gedolei Israel, So one day I was at home and I was writing an article for this, this Gadol Hador, and the thought had very, very many steps. So I asked doctors, they tell me you cannot feel your brain. But I felt like I could feel my brain. All of a sudden my brain was like throbbing, and I was right in the middle of this very long process. And I realized that if I stopped, I would have to start from the beginning, and I didn't want to. So I stood up and I held my head in my hands, and I walked to the bedroom and I leaned my head back against the wall so I could continue thinking, without stopping the train of thought. But one of the things you do, the truth is, in order to study Gemara, and certainly in order to study the halacha, often you have to deal with 20, 30, 50, 60, 100 steps in a process. How do you hold them? So one of the ways that normal people who aren't incredibly gifted, is they learn to think in a modular fashion. What do? They start to put things into units. You understand? I have these 10 steps can all be summed up in a single they're compartmentalized. This part's done. This part's done. We're not used to it now because today already they have so much space. But in the earlier years up until into the 2000s, one of the problems they had with each ensuing year in computer programming, their programs demanded more and more space. Doing was they were building old programs, so they just took what they had before and didn't bother to redo it. So the programs became more and more bloated because they just do it. They had this component done. They didn't want to go back and open it up and redo it. So you get more and more bloated. But the truth is, in order to think, you have to put things into modules. Everybody does it. So what happens? Well, a lot of times in the Gemara, you'll see the Gemara says, "Well, listen, you know what? That argument was actually connected to a whole different discussion. So what's going on? Were they sloppy? What's going on?" The answer is the things were put into modules. You understand? Everybody knew the module, but the question is, what was that module plugged in here? Or was the module plugged in here? Everybody knew this. Everybody knew this particular module they had down. In this particular, there was the debate because was the module plugged in this place or that place. So you'll see sometimes that happens. It happens in the Gemara often. And we say, you know what? That whole piece actually belonged to a different argument. Yes, because otherwise you don't say what's going on over there. The answer is they had it. Everybody knew the piece. The question is, where did the piece go? Everybody studied the piece. There were set pieces. We're not used to it. If you ever get to see the royal families of the Jewish people, I'm talking about in Torah learning. So you see from the time people are little kids, they master everything. Yes, and the parents train them, and they already have all the pieces in place. And then the question is how to organize them. I myself witnessed, young children. I mean, it's shocking. I witnessed young children being tested on things that the average grown man can't even follow, and the kid has it. And the kid had it. It's like that. I once was by one of the Gedolei Hador when I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have been there when I was there. So I was kind of in the corner. Nobody saw me. Nobody saw me. Yeah, and the whole family were giants of Torah. Everybody. So one of the sons, who was a grown man and it was himself a Rosh Hashiva, he got up to speak, and the family, everybody, killing him. It was World War III. I never saw anything like it. I never saw anything like it in my life. Everybody was absolutely conversant with everything in the entire Torah. You're saying you couldn't say a word, you understand, without 20 counters and then 20 counters to the counters. And I remember, and the guy who was speaking, I was afraid on his behalf. He was fine. He was fine. He stood there. Yeah, he laughed. He let him bang away. But anyway, the point. But one of the things. So in the young training of everybody, you learn modules. Everybody knows this particular piece that goes like this. This particular argument goes like this. Often we have problems with the problems. Wait a second. Was that plugged into this discussion or to that discussion? So that's what happens here. Alakiyat Marvatanatuna. You have to say what? Since we blasted out what we thought he proved at this point from our Mishnah, it fails. We said it's not comparable. So
this was my area of expertise in computers,
which is not mine, by the way.
And the difficulty is you prove that it works in one particular situation, but now you're using it in a different way.
Right.
And it works the way it used to work, but now you're trying to do something new with it.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work the same way. That's right. That's right. That's exactly the problem. I was always a very excited user of all technology. So I had, before all the PDAs existed, they used to have it on a PMCI card, that little card. They had the predecessor to a PDA. And I used it, I loved it. When they, in 1998, when they made the new Windows, it started to fail. So I know nothing about programming, but I knew exactly what they didn't do. So I called up the company in California from Israel, and I said, listen, I don't understand anything about programming, but I know what you did wrong here. You have to fix this part. The guy went with sugar. He's giving me a mazel tov and thanking me. And they have a thing called something com, something. It was like the convention. Yeah, it was the convention of all the programs. He says, I'm going to present you at this thing. I said, don't present me, just fix it. Because I knew, but I knew what he did wrong. Okay, so the answer is over here. So the Gemara says, you know what? What we thought, that ton of tuna that we thought that the Mishnah proved the point, was really in a different discussion. And like here, with ton of tuna, okay, what we proved from our Mishnah wasn't about Rabbi Chia. You mixed it up. This component was used in a different discussion entirely. That's what I want you to see this, because in the modern world, we have a big problem. As people get farther and farther from the tradition, they understand less and less about the tradition. They don't understand the perfection of what the rabbis did in the Gemara, and particularly in Israel, it's the worst problem. Israel is like it's the worst. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's the worst. You understand? They're tearing the tradition apart over there. You understand? In the universities, it's terrible. It's terrible.
They don't believe in.
They don't exactly. So, and because of their utter ignorance of the tradition, they can successfully show other ignorant people that the tradition is false. You understand? So that's why I take the time with you. You have to. These are not affable rabbis, casting about some interesting ideas. These were the finest thinkers and the finest scientists, and they were careful because it was the word of God, and they put their lives down on what they said. This was not a sloppy endeavor. You understand? They put every drop and every ounce of their responsibility behind it. That's what I want you to understand. This is not accidental. I'm trying to show you these are the workings. It happens among intelligent people. These things happen. He says. So where was the Tanatuna? It was not. Well, we used our Mishnah was not Rabbi Chia. It was about a different discussion of Rabbi Chia. You're right. We did use our Mishnah to prove a novel point that Rabbi Chia said, but this wasn't it. It was a different one. Here it is. So up till now, what we found out, we spoke about, and you're right. You know what? We didn't prove Rabbi Chia's din of what? Of two witnesses on partial claim that he has to swear on the other part. We didn't prove from our Mishnah. Itmar, but we did do something else. The Itmar, it was talking about another thing, a different Aida to Rabbi Chia Itmar. Rabbi Chia taught us a different law. This is a very interesting point. We mentioned we have a rule that if a person admits to part of a claim, he has to swear on the part that he doesn't admit to. And we explained the psychology of it, yesterday. What's the psychology? Because, of course, especially according to Rashi, if a guy's a thief, we can't let him swear. The answer is he's not an utter thief, he's a rationalizer. He can't face the guy he borrowed the money from. For the moment, he just wants to say, I don't know yet anything, and I'll pay later, but he can't say it because he can't face the guy. On the other hand, he's not really a cheat. He doesn't intend to pay. So such a guy, we make a shavua. God makes a shavua because he'll back off and he'll get him off. But now what happens in this case? He says, listen, you owe me 100. He says, oh, yeah, 50, and here it is. Here's the 50. Oh, yeah, 50, here it is. It's yours. You got it. So now, do we say, 1 second, do we say the admitted to part of the claim? Part of the claim. Okay, the admitted to part of the claim. We say, no, he didn't admit to part of the claim. He obviated the part of the claim. Here, guys, you owe me 50. He says, here, it's in your pocket. Now what do you want? The guy says, I want 50. So I told you, I don't know you the 50. But now, is he denying part of a claim? Or is we in a new case and he's denied the whole claim? Think again. You understand? He says, you owe me 100. He says, no. He says, 50 here. It's in your pocket. Hey, look, here it is. You got it. Okay, now we gonna say, you'll make me swear for partial. There's no partial. This case is over. The 50 is over. It's a new case. You want 50? I don't know you 50. I'm denying everything. So when we say halach, do we say what? Do we say it's a denial it's a partial denial or it's a complete denial? What is it? So it's a tremendous question. So Rabbi Chia said, he said, Manali biyadcha. If guy says yomi 100, he says, what? I only have 50. He says, and here it is. In other words, for example, I haven't spent the money you gave me,
It's the exact $50.
and therefore what? Therefore, wherever it is, it's in your possession. I put it in your pocket. He says, no matter what, chayiv, he still has to swear. And we don't say what? We don't say that it's a denial of the whole thing. It's still called a partial denial. My time, but what's the reason? Halach nami says even if he says here it is, and even though it's in the guy's possession, it's the same thing. It's not as if it's a brand new, and not if it's a brand new case. And we can say it's the same thing, all the same psychology we said before, etc. Tuna now, and we bring our Mishnah as a proof that even when he said, "Here's the money, it's in your pocket," he still has to swear on the other part. Why? Because now we're going to use this is the case where we use this is the module where we used our Mishnah to prove Rabbi Chia. Etc. Two people holding on to talis our Mishnah, what each swears, etc. Don't let's they split it. But over here came in the toughest. Okay, he says since he's holding half of the talis, okay, and ansadi the my toughest, and we my the toughest, and also we say, or some people put in. We say that whatever he's holding belongs to him. So Helechu, we're really saying what? As if he said, whatever you got, it's yours. You got it. Okay. He says, that's a case of Halech. He says, look, he says, I want holding mine. I said, no, that's yours. He says, okay, half is yours. And he still swears. So you see what? It's still considered that he is admitting to part of the case, even though the other guy's got the thing in his possession. He has to swear. He says, okay, so that was the opinion of Rabbi Chia, and he brought it right from the Mishnah. And the truth is, Rav Sheshes disagreed with him, and he said, in the case of Halach, it really is a brand new case, and he doesn't swear it's if the half is done, and the other half is a new claim where he completely denies it. Rav Sheshes Amar Halach Pati says, no, when the guy says, here it's yours, the partial, then the new case he doesn't have to he doesn't have to swear. My timer came in the Amar Lehelach because once he said, look, this stuff is in your possession. On his the once he said that this is your possession, it's as if what the plaintiff has already collected. And so the whole new case is on the other 50, and that 50 doesn't admit to. So therefore, there's no case of admitting to part of the claim. Okay, so then I got a problem. Now a minute ago you accepted that our Mishnah really proved Rabbi Chia's point. What that even by Halach, even when we say, look, he's got the other one, each guy got half, the other guy swears on the other half. So then and you use it to prove Rabbi Chia. So according to Rav Sheshes, who says that Halach does swear, that Halach probably doesn't swear.
Why is he
Kasha Mas Nisan? Our Mishnah is a kasha thing because we use it as a proof to Rav Chia. Rav Sheshes, don't worry. Mas Nisan, he says the same thing we said before. You're making a big mistake. Our Mishnah is clearly not the vow of the oath of the Torah. It's like we proved before already. We already showed you it can't possibly. It doesn't make any sense. We already proved to you before that it has to be a rabbinic vow. Okay, and therefore what? You can't learn anything from our Mishnah. If that's true, so if Shesha says you can't learn anything from our Mishnah, like we said above, what is Rav Chia going to say? How did Rav Chia use our Mishnah as a proof? He says, yes, I admit to you that our Mishnah is indeed, it's a rabbinic enactment. So how can I take a Mishnah that's a rabbinic enactment and use it to teach me about what? Use it to teach me about a Torah oath of partial admission. He says, okay, Halach Achayev. He said, I'll tell you why, because if you would say like I say, that from the Torah, even when the guy said, here's the first 50 and the other 50, I'll swear, he starts to swear on from the Torah. Okay, so if from the Torah, Halach brings about Takanas Rabbanan Shua Kain Deraisa. Takana Rabbanan Shua Kain Deraisa. So then, in our Mishnah, which is the parallel of that case, the rabbis, even though it's not exact, but the rabbis can make a shavua, like the Torah shavua, that even where the partial admission is in the possession of the plaintiff, still the defendant has to swear on the other part. Must be the right. We say from the Torah that Halach is exempt in such a case. The rest of the kavasa with the Raisa, the rabbi is going to make such a decree. I mentioned to you a few months ago the same thing. This is a very important thing. The rabbis were. If you don't love the rabbis, you don't know them, and if you know them, you for sure love them. They were just the most delightful creatures that ever walked the face of this earth. And one of the things they did was everything they do, they're always looking at God, and everything they did was an emulation of God. I met some really old men in my life. The oldest man I ever met was 111 when I met, and he died when he was 113. He was a very holy man, and I remember when I first saw him. Yes, and I think I told you I walked into this door, so the Aron Kodesh was here, and the door was here, and the shulchan was there where they read the Torah, and this 111-year-old man was facing the Aron Kodesh, and I promise you, the second I walked in, I saw his face looking at the Aron, and I thought I was looking at the face of a person that was standing in front of God. That's what it looked like to me. I saw it on his face. It was clear. I could see it. And the rabbis, the reason why we follow the rabbis, because it's easier to see God by following the rabbis than by seeing God, because humans are people. Yeah, I don't even know if you ever see it. I read a lot. You understand? So in horror stories, it's much more terrifying to describe the face of the person who sees the monster than to describe the monster. It's more scary to see the face of the person who sees the monster than to see the monster. And that's what they do all the time when they want to scare you. And it's the same thing over here. It's much easier to see God by looking at the rabbis than to find God, because the rabbis are like us. They're humans. They say, so I go to a human who saw God, I can see God easily. And what the rabbis did with everything they did, their whole being was focused, you see, on Hashem. That's all the rabbis did. It's so insane to be like, oh, the rabbis, I don't listen to people, I don't listen to God. Listen to people, listen to God, for you idiot. These people, all they do is look at God. Listen to them. You'll be okay. Believe me, trust them. They'll be fine. So what the rabbis did was everything, not only, even though God mandated that the Chachamim should make takanos and gezeros, he told the rabbis, make enactments and make fences. They didn't budge. Everything they did, they looked at God. How about an asmachta? You know that word asmachta? An asmachta is when the rabbis quote a pasuk and it doesn't prove what they say. Well, what does it prove? What do they do? So they made it up. It's a decree of the rabbis. God told them to decide. So why are they finding a pasuk in the Torah? Because they're finding that what they did was so right that God anticipated it when he gave the Torah. And they find a verse that anticipated what they were going to say. Everything they did, they were looking backwards like a little child. You remember when your little kid runs away? He's, Daddy, I'm running away. He doesn't run. He runs away every 2 seconds. He looks back. Am I okay? Am I okay? And the kid never runs away. The kid's always looking, am I okay? Am I safe? The rabbis, with all the independence that God gave the rabbis, every second, all they do is look at God. So what they did was, Kolma the Tukan Rabbanan came to Raisa Tukan. Every word that the rabbis enacted, they did it. Oh, they still looked at God as the model. God said, "It's okay, son. I give you a license. You, the rabbis, do what you want. You put my Torah into the world." And I said, "Yes, but am I okay?" They never stopped looking at God. And I told you, the Chasam Sofer argue with everybody. They don't agree with him. Everybody. The Chasam Sofer said it's a big mistake. Is that people comes Tisha B'Av. So everybody thinks, oh, why are we fasting? Because we're mourning for the temple. He says, no, we're not fasting for mourning for the temple. There's no such thing. We're fasting to do tshuva. We're fasting to do tshuva. We don't fast to mourn. We mourn for the temple. We're not fasting for mourning. We do other things. We sit on the floor because of mourning. We don't learn Torah because of, okay. He says, what's his proof? He said, because he says the rabbis decreed a fast day. They have to compare it to something in the Torah. There's only what fast day you have in the Torah? Yom Kippur. We're not fasting Yom Kippur for mourning. We fast Yom Kippur. Why? To do tshuva. He says, so the fasting, if the rabbis made a fast, it's a fast like Yom Kippur. They didn't make up a brand new fast. Okay. Other people fight with him, but I'm trying to show you how far the principle goes. So therefore, he said, it's a beautiful. He says, I can look at the Mishnah. I know the Mishnah is rabbinic, but when I look at the rabbis, I can still see the kernel of the Torah. When I look at the rabbis, I'm looking at the rabbis looking at God. When I look at the rabbis' decree, I'm looking at the rabbis looking at God's decrees. So since they made this up, they only would have made it up on a model of the Torah. So it had to be what? That they really believed that Halach, when it came to Halach and Amod Mitzvahs, really what? Still obligated the person to pay a shvuah, and it's not a new case. It's a beautiful thing, Rabbi say. They don't know. They don't know who the rabbis are. They don't know. That's why people leave, because they don't know. That's the point. And they don't. Everybody's a smart aleck, and you go into the shuls. I can't stand it. I hate it. I hate those places. I run away. The rabbi speaks and says, "Rabbi, I think you should check the responsa. So you have a bum." Every guy's a smart aleck. What do you have a person that's looking at God? Shut your mouth. You have somebody that's seeking God. What do you? Because you want to play your games. Somebody's trying to find the word of God. We should kiss their feet. The Chachamim. I'm sorry. I mean to yell at you. I love you. That's the point. Anyway, new Mesivek. Okay, so that's the point. So they made even a decree. They did. They only looked at Hashem to make the decree. Meisive, okay, still when they say kasha from Rabbi Chia, how can you tell me by halach that you still case some other mixas? He says, what are you talking about? We learned a fantastic rule. Okay, listen to this. You have a star. It says sloim dinoim. Says they write a paper, a loan paper. It says I owe you dollars. I owe you pounds. Okay, you said these coins, those coins. It doesn't say how many. I owe you dollars. I owe you pounds. Okay. Yeah. So Malvo Omer. So what is it? So the lender says what chamesh. He says it was $5 or £5. Below Omer Sholosh, she says no, it was 3. The borrower says it was 3. So now what? So now what I look at is this a partial admission or not? Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar Omer. Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar says. He said, listen, since the lender says it was $5 and he said it was $3, you should swear he partially admitted. Rabbi Akiva says, nah, he says not. He says, Eino ela chamesha b'beida. He says, this is different. This is the guy he's doing you a favor. He's giving you back on what, and he has amigo. What's the amigo? Since he could have said what, he admitted to 3. He could have said what? He said, I only owe you 2. And he said 3. You believe him. Now, wait a second. Didn't we learn yesterday? What did Robert teach us? What are you talking about? We said by moda mitzvah sataina, when a person says, you owe me 100, he says, I owe you 50. He has to swear. Why should he swear? He could have said, I owe you nothing. So we said we don't accept that migo. Why? Because the psychology is that he was embarrassed. Psychology was embarrassed. So how could Rabbi Kiva say over here that all of a sudden we accept the migo? We just said the whole point of mod mixes we don't accept it because psychologically he wants to tell the truth and he can't. So then how can we accept it? The answer is why? Because it's written in the paper. It's different. No normal mode that we mix us is what where the guy says you owe me 100, he says you 50. He says I could have said nothing. That's right. You could have said nothing on your own. On your own. We think you're a scaredy cat and we're gonna force you out. But when the paper said what? Dollars, the paper said pounds, 2 was already in the paper. Wow. 2 was in the paper. So when he says now, listen, I could have said 2, says Rikiba. Now, even though normally in the term mother makes us we say psychologically we're gonna nail you, here we don't. Why? Because he really could have said 2. With strength, he wouldn't have been afraid to say 2. Why? Because the paper says 2. So he says he's really what? He's like a guy who's just doing you a favor and giving it back. You have to be a punter, and he's exempt. Now, okay, beautiful argument. Now, but at all events, look, we learned what everybody said. What? Where was the argument when the lender said the paper said plural, the lender said 5, and the borrower said 3. Rabbi Shimon, because you told me what? Rabbi Shimon Lazar said what? That when he said 3, he was admitting to part of 5, and he has to pay. Taima. Now even Rabbi Shimon Lazar says he has to. Pardon me. He has to swear. Dorma Sholosh is only where he said 3. It's only where he said 3. Even Rabbi Shimon Lazar only where he said 3. He said he admitted to part. Stein. What if he had said 2? Potter, he'd be exempt. What do you mean? He's exempt. If he said even Rabbi Shimon Lazar said he has to swear. Here, if he said 2 like the paper, he wouldn't have to. Okay, he wouldn't have to swear. Okay, why is that? Because he admitted to what's written in the paper by Shtar the Kadumi Bay. Okay, and okay, hey lechu, this paper it's there. He's got it already. The guy that 2 he's got. It's ready. It's ready. He's in his hand. So you see what? Even where he put it in his hand, he's exempt. Even Rav Shimon said that 3 is a partial admission, 2 is not a partial admission, which shows you what whatever's in the guy's hand is subtracted from the claim, and it's a new court case. So we proved against Rabbi Chia. It's not true. Hey, Lechinu, he says here it is. It doesn't matter. It's still when he says here it is. It's a new court case, and he's exempt because he denied everything. Gemara says love. He says no. He says not it. He says it's not the case. And this is what I told you. This is the game of what inferences. Remember, if you learn one thing from me, don't rely on inferences. You can't. You cannot. Any inference based on words or word order is nothing. It's nothing. You can do. I'll show you how to defend them, but they're very hard to defend. Inferences on subject or predicates are powerful. They're always true, and you don't have to talk about it. But inference made from the use of a particular word or the order of the words can always be trashed. Okay, now. Okay, so he says, listen, he says, don't make that inference. No, he says, don't make that inference that 3 you swear and 2 you don't. Okay, I can tell you what, shtayim chayim. No, they're just like by 3 you have to swear, also 2 you have to swear. I said, then why do you argue? Why do you talk about three? The high the Kotani Shalosh, when he said three, Lafuki made the Rebbe Kiva, the Amar Mesha Veda have you potter. I'll tell you why. Because he does want to talk about three, because by three, Rebbe Kiva said what? That he's really believed with Amigo. He said three when he said it could have said two. So he's telling you what, even by three. Now, he didn't say only by three he swears. Even by three. Where he did the guy a favor, okay, where Bekiva says he did a favor, he's part. You see, by three, he still has to pay, okay, but by two, because it's by three that Bekiva said it, but by two, even Bekiva agrees that he has to swear, okay. Okay, Kamash Alan. So he shows him what the mitzvah Tanahavi. He tells me what he tells me what the three is modern mitzvahs. And really, also two, he has to swear. If it's really true, if you want to tell me what, that even when he said two, that he has to swear, why did Rishon Lazar say that the reason by three that he has to swear is because he admitted to part? He says, he shouldn't have said he swears here. He should have said also here he swears. Well, and that's what I said to you. He did. I said, well, you said what? He said only a three and not two. We said, no, even three. How come he didn't say even three? He should have said even. He should have said what? Even three, okay? Because when he said since, okay, it sounded specifically this case, okay, that the three and not the two. So Gemara said, you know what? That's a good point. He says, don't worry. He says, I'll explain to you. Don't worry. Because, okay, you're right. You know what? Really what? By two, he is exempt. You're right. The truth is, by two, he's exempt, okay? But nevertheless, Rabichia's law is still true. In that case, two, he doesn't have to swear. You're right. But our rule that when you hand over the partial title to the guy, you still have to swear is still true. Okay, why is that? And it's different. Over there by the case of the paper, why? Why is it when he says two that he doesn't have to swear? For the reason we mentioned before, the Komasai Shtar, because remember, the paper is backing him up. You're right. And there we don't say it's a normal case of admitting to part. The paper says also that it's two. And therefore what? The paper meant the minimum of the plural, which is two. And therefore what? You can't bring any proof against Rabbi Chia, because over there it's a much different case. It's not where he says the paper backed him up. There he doesn't have to swear, because there's really two. Where it says Inami, or alternatively, I can say Mishum Dahavile Shtar, okay, Shiva Kokos. Here's why, because the paper was a paper that put a lien on real estate. And we never swear anything that comes to do with denying the lien on lands. We don't swear by land, and therefore what says the paper puts the loan onto the land, you don't swear. The answer is what? The answer is a special case. But either way, we continue to defend the law of Rabbi Chia that by Halach you do have to swear. Okay, some people may say, some people want to ask the other way. Instead of using this to ask a kasha against a Rishia, let's use it a kasha to answer a Rishesha. Rishesha said that when you say Halach, that you don't have to swear. Then he says, I'll prove to you that you do have to swear. And the second part, when we said, Rabbi Kiva said what? When he said three, when the plaintiff said five, the defendant said two. Three, and the paper said two. Rabbi Kiva, he said, "Ain't no element commission." So when he said three, he's returning lost opportunity potter, and he's exempt. He says, "Time with Amar Shalosh," but why is he exempt? Because he said three, Hash time Chayv, but two he has to pay. So you see a kasha to Rabbi Sheshes that says what by Halach?
No, two he has to swear.
He has to swear. So you see a kasha to Rabbi Sheshes that says by Halach you don't have to swear. Well, Hash the Komodi Bekelach, the paper, it's as if when he put it back into possession, the paper says too. You see what? That even when he says here's the money, he still has to swear against Rav Sheshes. And we don't, and we do say it's like what? He's admitting to partial claim. And we don't say it's a new case. No, he says no. Don't make the inference. No, just like three is exempt, also two is exempt. Why did Rabbi Kiva say that three is exempt? Just because he wants to fight Rav Shimon Lazar, because he wants to fight Rav Shimon Lazar, said that when he said three, he admitted to part, and he has to pay, and he has to swear. He has to he says so therefore Rabbi Kiva said what? That by three he's doing him a favor. But by two, even Rabbi Shimon admits what? That since it's a case of Halach, that he has to swear. The West doesn't make sense. Why? These are if you really thought that what by two that he still has to swear, how can Rabbi Kiva make him exempt when he has to swear by two? He says, okay, I can say what? I can use the same psychology and say that he's just doing a trick. Why? He says, because he says to himself, if I say two, if I say two, I have to swear. Okay, Ema Shalosh, I'll say three, the Havi Kamesha Bedav after, I'll be as if I did the guy favor and I won't have to swear. Ella, you have to see what Shmamina, Shtaim Nami Pot. There must be what? The two is also exempt, otherwise I wouldn't have exempt, otherwise I couldn't exempt them at three. And why? And so you see what? That it's exempt because of Halach, and we defended Rav Sheshes. I El Kashner Then 1 second. Then now what we used Rekiva we use Rekiva to back up Rav Sheshes, to back up Rav Sheshes. What are you going to do with Rabbi Chia? When he says, don't worry, Shani asked him, he says, don't worry. He says, the Bryce is different. The reason why when he says two, and the reason that he doesn't swear is not because by Halach you don't swear. Really, by Halach you do swear. But here the whole point is what the Komasai, because here the paper is backing him up. Okay, why? Because here when they sign the paper, it's like as two witnesses that it was only two, because the normal meaning of plural is two. So it's like as witnesses that he said two. So of course, really by Halach he does have to swear, but over here it's like when he says two, it's like he has two witnesses said it was two. It's not by his own. It's not that he's admitting to two. He has two witnesses it's two. He wants to Inami, so that's one reason. So even though by normally he has to swear, here he does it. Inami, alternatively, Mishum Dehabile, Star Shivud Kakosa, because the paper again is on real estate. And we said any vows having to do with land, you don't swear when it comes to liens on land. Okay, one more very, very interesting case. Yes, it is. Mesiv Marzucha, he wants to ask this question. He says, he's Breder of Nachman. He has his kasha. Tanu Kalim Kakos. Okay, let's say a case where a guy claims against a guy. You owe me tools. Okay, you owe me utensils, and you owe me land. Okay, hold the Kalim Kakos. We learned clearly. Okay, that what? That if he said, I owe you the tools, but I don't owe you the land. Oh, hold the Kakos Kakos. He said, I owe you the land, but I don't owe you the tools. Potter, he's exempt. Okay, why is that? Because since it had to do with land, okay, he doesn't bring a vow. We don't do vows on denials of land. Hoda mixas hakos, but if he admitted to part of the land, okay, and he admitted to all of the tools, Potter, he's exempt again. Why? Because the partial mission on land. Mixas kalim, if he admits that he owes part of the tools, chayiv, then he is obligated because of what? Okay, and then he has to swear even on the land. Okay, because why is that? Because once he's obligated, like we learned earlier, once he's obligated on a vow for the utensils, he's obligated also because of the land. Okay, now, but let's look. But all that that was Exhibit A. But here's the point. Now 1 second. Let me ask you, Kasha, if Sheshas, how can you tell me that when you say Halach, okay, that it's a new case and you don't have to swear, it's not Modim Miktas? He says, Taima the Kalim Bakakos, the whole reason why that he has the whole reason why that he's exempt from vowing is what? Because it was utensils, it was tools and land. The Karka, okay, La Bashruhi, because land, we don't swear on land. Ha Kalim Bakalim, do the Kalim Bakakos, but it had been a case of utensils and utensils. That's like utensils and land. For example, what? What will be the example? For example, that the utensils are right here in front of us, okay, just like land is in front of us. It's right there. So if utensils in front of us, the utensils not in front of us. Chayev, that he would have to swear as a partial admission. Hechidami, what would be the case? Lav Domer Lehelech isn't where he said what? He said, listen, there, this and this and here, these ones are yours. You see what? That when he delivers the part that he admits to, we still say it's a mode that makes us he has to swear. Okay, kasha to Rav Sheshes. Lo, he says no. I can say to you, Kalim, okay, nami potter. Even utensils that are like land, where he says Halach, it's still exempt, like Rav Sheshes. So why did we learn specifically then to teach this case specifically utensils and land? Why not utensils and utensils? Again, he says what? It's in order to teach us that what Hodu makes us kalim chayev to teach us the special rule that if you admit to partial utensils, once you're obligated to the bound utensils, it drags along on land. So Gemara says, "Mike, what are you talking about?" But that's not that it can't be coming to teach me that. It must be coming to teach me, like we said, that by Halach you have to swear because to teach me what that one vow brings another. Tanina, that's a famous Mishnah. Everybody knows that. Zokik and Chasim Shemachrayas. property that's not real, okay, that doesn't bear responsibility, movables that you have to swear for, as makes you swear also in one's own real estate. We learned that the movables, if you have to swear on the movables, you have to swear on land. Everybody knows that. Okay, says, no, you're right. It's true that we did learn that over there, but ironically, where it said it explicitly was not the main locus of teaching it. That's not really where we learned it. Hacha in the Mishnah of what of Kenim Karka is Iker. This is the main place where we really taught it, okay? Because that's what the laws were all talking about one thing, one vow making us have to make another vow. Hasam over there, where we actually said it, it wasn't really about that. The whole point over there, okay, because since we were talking about things that don't have that, we're really talking about over there, we're talking about acquisition, that movables can be acquired with real estate, etc. So once we talk about real estate and movables, we also talked about vows, but the role of vows wasn't over there and over by us. Even though we learned it over there, that wasn't the real place. Over here, the main point of talking about utensils and utensils and land was to teach me specifically utensils and land, but not utensils and utensils. Okay, pardon me. Was not the utensil potential, but to teach me that the vow in utensils makes me make the vow on the land. I said it backwards, and we'll call that a da.
Rav Moshe, stay a minute. Rav Moshe wants to say Kaddish to Rabbanan. It's the art side of his mother, Rachel Bas Yosef. Aleha Hashem.